I learned this dragon language when I was getting attacked to the point where I was in agonizing torture. Um, After my dragon force kicked in, I started doing these weird mudras that were kind of like finger tutting, but in a way where I was unlocking an aspect of myself in a combination kind of like magicians. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. This is like way before magicians came out. And I just had this huge awareness of higher self. And my friend Dragon came in and helped me kick out the thing that was trying to possess me. And I did this flash and pulse with my heart that forced it out of my body. And then it taught me this thing, and I was speaking this dragonic language, kind of like something like that. And then I started doing that tutting thing.
What do you mean by tut?
Finger tutting is that whole dance thing with your fingers.
Oh yeah, that shit's cool.
Yeah, that's an actual fucking
That's cool.
mudra science. That's like fluid in motion.
Mudra. That's the shit.
Yeah, it's like combination. There's like whole mystery schools into that. But yeah, I learned that. I didn't know what the fuck I'd do, and I had this huge amount of awareness that came into me, and the combination to do it. And I was saying these words, and I could feel everything like deeply happening, and it like bringing in power and activating this thing in me. So apparently, you can activate through sacred linguistics aspects of the body that you feel deeply. And then it taught me psionic punching, where I charged my fist up with energy and I had a capacitance, and I unleashed it at the being that tried to possess me, and I could feel them being taken care of, because I didn't know fully what was going on at the time. But essentially, my future self was also coming back with my higher self and all that, and working in the intricacies of an ability that I would learn in the future to take care of beings in a positive way that isn't just a kicking their ass. And then I didn't have to worry about it, and I felt it all, the entire shadow go away, and it was a wonderful experience after that. And I started conversations with the dragon version of myself and my higher self to gain as much awareness as possible, because I knew I'd eventually lose it, really, the awareness very quickly, because it's like a sustaining thing on energy. Somebody's energy is or myself or the dragons and all together being put to have the manifestation at a greater level, and then reach for those apples of knowledge. And I love that. Inspired me in all immense capacities to work with dragons and know who I am with them and what I've been and how I've worked with them in many lives and how important they are to this reality, even though they're mostly not seen and are only carried on in the fantasies and myths and imagination of many people that love them as a residual image and don't know why, in many different forms of reality programmers, an elemental hierarchy for the planet or planets that create that management system, and are showing a concept in residual form that takes on all aspects of creation in elemental form that can expand into them as they grow and work with the planet. And they are with us in many ways throughout this entire existence and manifestation in elements. Every element of our being incorporates so many different combinations of elemental creation. The salt, the magnesium, the zinc, the silver, the gold, the silica, the carbon, the magnetite, magnets, all the different crystal communities that work with as technology, that record information, work with collectives, have spirits guarding the territory of that manifestation, and that can change like a hermit crab depending on its usage, add-ons, more to the collective, and how many beings are working with it, and how much they're giving towards doing more for that manifestation, to where they hold up it together and learn together and grow together and have cities of whole experiences fractally up and down through every little micro aspect of every atom, every molecule and cell and beyond.
I think one of the coolest things I learned about dragons was one of Andrew's teachings about how he shared that dragons are foundational elemental beings of the planet. So they would be making those elements and stuff, and they're inside as the founders, or going into the creation of the elements inside our body and on our planet.
Yes.
Everything. So we are all connected through elementals, and dragons are the foundational elemental. So we all have dragons. I mean, and look at all the esoteric things too, like the Rothschilds, the dragon bloods, is what it means. And all those things about the different dragon bloods and the different all those
Dragon families.
yeah, the dragon families, and then you learn about the dragon triads and how they're pretty much some of the greatest beings, in my opinion, around. And they're easily they have so much power.
I agree completely.
So I would work with them rather than say, no, boo boo, I don't see you. Boo boo, I don't believe in dragons or whatever. Even if you have a concept in your mind that's a dragon, then you're working with dragons in some form or fashion. So let's look at the things we already know, and then we could deprogram, reprogram if we want to use programs to excel ourselves. And download the new Excel version with the dragons and that understanding that it's in your elements, it's within every action or different things on this planet. Foundational planetary being, elemental being.
Beautiful. Yeah, when going through my body and uniting every cell, every fiber that I could find balance and unity so that it comes together for the greater growth of the whole, and everyone benefits, because we don't need to be in competition or anything like that, and scarcity of what our society projects onto us. That's the only way. It's not. Every element of the body had an anchor of spiritual entourage into it. So when healing the body, it was like me becoming aware of all these different beings that I was connected to since birth, or whenever I intook a certain amount of material, and that would go into the process of creating the new cells. It's seen that entire journey of what it's been from creation of however it was created scientifically and created in stars or supernovas or huge explosions, the Big Bang, whatever you want to say, and even into alchemical understanding that you can turn any base elemental type or any frequency of expression into another form, because it all emanates from something that came from oneness. That's understanding what its branch is through like chemistry and in a more synchronistic pattern or spiral or whatever way you want to see a more harmonic version of the periodic table. That or like I like Wilhelm Reich's idea with the sine wave, where it goes in and out of states of like alkaline and non-alkaline and or base or acidic, and that also giving a hint of its polarity of expression in that elemental state as it goes up an octave chain. into more
It's an
awareness.
octave chain, also.
Yeah, like there's different states of, like, if you were to see the entire electromagnetic spectrum also connect to every treeing branch of energy that can exist, and it having a blueprint to how it was created, you can have the keys to understanding which elements are the best to work with for certain chemical reactions to bring it to another state of being, or what it takes in a aggregate or like air or water or oil to maintain itself so it doesn't turn into another state or start reacting or fusing with other elements around it as if it's programmed to do it, because each element has a reason for its manifestation. It has a job, it does things, it can do things better than others, like, you know, going into salt and sodium chloride, how it's a reaction of bringing all polarized states of being to neutrality, of energy frequencies of all different types of electromagnetic spectrum and beyond that pass through it. And it has a commerce system with that, and how it uses what it's good at for the benefit of the universe while expanding the conscious perception of anchoredness it has in manifestation, and all the consciousness that's using it as a unentangled observer into the reality to experience more as it continues or is created or shaped through whatever journey it's on. And that anchors in dragons that observe us from a distance safely, unentangled through elements that they have been connected to in some way, may have even been a part of the manifestation, because they absolutely create elements. I have seen elements come into existence through interesting processes like asteroids coming down and that whole, or magma, or pressurization, or even alchemists being able to make gold. There was a record in that psychometry of the record of them being made by something, and you can track it back. And sometimes dragons are creating, going out of phase and sitting within mountains and creating, or whatever place they choose strategically to start creating a crystal seed that would last over time and have a reason for its manifestation, that either interacts with the surface, stays underground, processes particular mystery school abilities itself to, like, where it grows greater and greater over time, and even bilocate to multiple crystal seeds around the planet. And if it has created a commerce system for a specific type of crystal that it is good at making, if like an off-world planet spawned a dragon, I mean, you know, a planet that's all planets off besides
an off-world planet.
yeah, one that's kissing
One
Earth.
that's,
Yeah.
not on this one.
The what a planet, you know, not here, and that spawns dragons that are sending them in commerce to interact with other places that are good at creating specific types of crystals, will start bilocating to other worlds and start setting up multiple crystal seeds of that type of crystal, so they can add that chess move of their entire expression and library. Because if you go into the science of crystals forming that are new crystals in scientific labs, the first crystal that forms out of a new stock doesn't know quite what to do. It doesn't have memory, doesn't have anything sticking onto it. But as there's a collective field that interacts with the crystals, and there being more crystals of the same type, it becomes easier to be created the next time, and even more geometrically perfected to the coming future generations as it grows and it syncs up with that other collective. It seems to be an interesting, scientifically observed system of how the crystal will get better at growth, or as it makes more of itself.
Through having a family life, in a way.
It's kind of different than DNA, but works similarly. It has a different lattice structure. records information differently and stores light differently, but it's similar to. So and there are those aspects of how elemental shape-shifting DNA exists and is introduced to us, or the rare few that have dragon family DNA lineages, or some other form of elemental expression that introduced its DNA lineage to us in a library, because we are a library for the long term, which is why it's advantageous to store DNA with us.
Farm. And so what? So you were talking about crystals and dragons. So there's crystals that have dragons.
Yeah, a lot. Not all of them. Well, unless. Let me rephrase that. Not all crystals I've observed have dragons in them based on different functions. There's other types of elementals will take on that. Though not all dragons will let you know they're entangled with certain crystals unless they trust you and want to work with you, and you can enter their mystery schools through that crystal. That's another greater way for the commerce of that being that works with sentience, that knows the technology of physical matter at a greater level and wants to work with it. And the placeholders for that wisdom a lot of the time are dragons.
I was thinking so dragons are so we're in density training right now. Like we can think of that. We're in density training right now. So this is training of different things you'll entangle with or not entangle with, and you are multidimensional and you're going through density training. So you're learning about what entanglement is and unentanglement. And the dragon is working with us unentangledly, but because they're very powerful and learned a lot in density training, they entangled with the frameworks of the foundations or the makeups of what we're all using to entangle with, where we just take it we don't know if we're entangled with them until we entangle with thinking, oh, they're in the minerals, they're in those metals. So we're learning something about entanglement and unentanglement and the gray areas of going through the different scale of that whole spectrum of what entanglement is and untanglement, like in quantum physics. It's all happening at all times, and quantum physics is a science, so it's tracking what's happening. But what's happening is happening too. And you're entangling with whatever you're putting your energy toward or not knowing that you are, but whatever. We're all learning about it. That's why the sacred neutral that's why I've learned a lot most from, because once you put a label to it, you just change the charge. So neutral, I'm just calling it sacred, and having an actual sacred neutral that's built by just being that sacred neutral. It's a key for unlocking different things in density training and having higher dimensional, or whatever dimensional for the time being, going through those experiences of density.
Well said.
That's what came up when you were saying.
Yeah, we can talk a lot about dragons. We could have a whole series on dragons. Like, I could talk for days, and I can go into new subjects, which I'm lovely, willing, and excited to go into new information with an excuse that brings greater knowledge to the public. For dragonic magic, or dragonic communion, union, dragon DNA activation, all the things. Oh, that even if we don't have dragon DNA, we're interacting with dragons, because the placenta of the void, the bubble of reality of creation that we allow ourselves to exist in, that is in principle and programmable, is technically a dragon created by Earth to process that.
Wood agrees, or the minerals in there agree. Fire agrees.
Earth loves dragons. She's very much loves using them in an archetype form. They inspire her. She's been dragons many times. She loves their lives. Who doesn't? Who wouldn't love those lives? And she pretty much collects all beings, not like in a negative way, but like to where she can have them in local bubbles of reality to flourish in a non-selfish way. She's just a very avid collector. That's why I'm bringing up that linguistic, because she
Just like how like
brings them all in.
an orphanage is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to save all the children.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a
Super loving mother.
it's still the same expression, but it's also you're collecting, but you're collecting experiences with having a child, something like an orphanage, taking in a refuge, mother or whatever, someone who needs spouse.
She loves dragons, so she adopts many, many dragons, and they are still here. They don't like interacting on the surface during this time because of what the implications of what that means. There are still some dragons, though, I have come aware of that or have flown around, which is interesting and mind-blowing, and some are captured on film. Not all are real. Of course, there's Photoshop, but hey, I can tune into the ones that are real, and it's fucking mind-blowing. But, and they have a mystery school, you can telepathically communicate with them. They're badass. They got a lot of things going on. A lot of surface dragons have been cursed, attacked, cut off, overwhelmed, isolated, telepathically neutered, as well as fertility neutered. Like they're limited from breeding and limited from finding each other or versions of their species, because not all dragons are the same, and they might become aware of another species similar, but then not be able to accurately, because they're passing down a lineage that as soon as it enters our bubble of reality or interaction points, it takes on a whole bunch of stuff that it has to deal with in drama and blockages and all this other stuff. So it has to deal with all of that while going through a history that has a domination control system that's set on forgetting them and wiping them from our history of ever being existing, and burning the books and all the libraries and scrolls on their existence and the fact that they're a widespread existence on pretty much most cultures on the planet.
You know how many I got to live in Japan when I was like 5 years old, so I was 7 years old, and you know how many parades they have with dragons in Japan, dude? Like,
I don't know how many.
Like they just have them like every 2 weeks or something. They're having or like they have it a lot. Like in all of their
kind of glad for that.
Holiday kind of things or ceremonial whatever parades. There's always a huge headed dragon someone's under, and then everyone's under it. You know, it's like a super long tail.
I'd have so much fun just doing that. I can imagine why they do it that often. And it keeps, like, you gotta, like, there's totally gotta be influence for that through dragons. We gotta keep this culture going. We gotta jazz them up every few weeks, and then let them know that the dragon is doing that for them. That helps them bring that excitement in.
Mystical and factoring of their culture and stuff. Dragon Ball Z.
They gotta keep it going and as many things as they want. And
there's even a show about Dragon's balls, and they're all up on his balls trying to like collect his balls, and then they make a wish if they gather Dragon balls.
Yeah, wish orbs. That's a concept that exists.
Yeah.
It's not always the same physics, and it's mostly based on the capabilities of the being that created them. So there's micro and macro expressions of that, as well as things that are good at manifesting or creating or whatever the fuck sacred object ability that you're looking at. That, you know, it could be orb or created by dragons.
So it's like items that you have to assemble.
Summon something?
Yes. Usually they'll be, unless they're a singular object that like were made for that function.
Like a staff or something.
Yeah. Like if it's something that is easily activated, unless you get, like, you know how two people will have two keys for doing a bomb, that like, oh, are you sure you want to fucking do this?
You flipped it at the same time.
Yeah. And then also doing that for positive reasons, to keep it out of the hands of darkness, so that even if one aspect of that technology gets stolen, because the dark really are invested in stealing objects around that are sacred and then corrupting the fuck out of them. And yeah, sometimes we get them bilocated to us if we are authorized to work with them, or have worked with dragons in a way where they're offering it as a gift. But that also depends on how much you're usually doing for the planet or that dragon or whatever in commerce. And that's part of the mystery school of the dragon, of you scratch my back, I scratch yours, we grow together.
I'm a dragon, bitch.
Yeah, scratch my scales. Ooh, a little to the left.
I always wondered, like, how did Krillin have a baby with an android?
I think he did a wish to make her human.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little weird. Oh wait, I also, like, when they go into android, are they expressing that she is part human, and that
No, I don't think so. I think she's full android.
what is, like, isn't
Robot.
wait, what's cyborg? Is cyborg where it's two? Yeah, okay.
It was a robot created by
Oh yeah,
guy.
I remember.
And yeah,
I
he
thought
put
16.
the AI in it or something.
Oh yeah, I think 16 was modeled at least after the son of Jiro or something.
Yeah, probably. I don't even remember.
There's like a whole myth. That's not explained. Anyway, yeah, dragons have that type of capabilities for reality manifestation, reality programming, um, abilities for the human DNA skin suit. They can upgrade DNA past what you were born with. There's many different reasons to work with the dragon. Of course, all species have light, dark, and neutral, and there's absolutely dark expressions of dragons. So one must have discernment and capability to discern between the difference between a negative forcing being against free will, or like dominating, versus a free-willed expressed being. And a free-willed expressed being that is your ally, but you are feeling deeply their spirit to the point where you are also seeing their shadow self, and not to confuse that for evil, but also to realize that they're holding up entire bubbles of reality and are protecting beings that are from torturous attack and things that like can be expanded in awareness to like what the quarantine of keeping this planet safe going into the future means, including moving this asteroid a little bit to the left, or keeping negative beings that want to invade us out, which beyond just dragons, because we have a lot of dragon protectors that help us protect from that, Earth has to keep really negative manifestations from occurring, and a progressively getting better future with, the free will expression for us to solve our own fucking problems and learn from them.
That's good. Good stuff, man. You should really make this
Oh yeah, it's 30 minutes.
Out of so far what we've